Let us begin with poetic devices in prescribed poems. This is a very important topic in literature in English. It appears in your exams every single year. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the major poetic devices, how to identify them in poems, their effects, using sample analyses of prescribed poems, and how to answer exam questions. Take your notes. Let us go. First, what are poetic devices? Poetic devices are tools that poets use to create rhythm, enhance meaning, and evoke emotions. They are the building blocks of poetry. Understanding poetic devices helps you analyze and appreciate poems. The major poetic devices include imagery, simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, irony, symbolism, alliteration, assonance, consonance, onomatopoeia, rhyme, rhythm, meter, enjambment, caesura, repetition, refrain, apostrophe, oxymoron, paradox, and tone. Each device has a specific effect. Poets choose devices based on what they want to achieve. Now let me analyze poetic devices in The Anvil and the Hammer by Kofi Awono. This poem is about the pain of cultural dislocation. The speaker is caught between tradition and modernity. Let me identify the devices. Imagery. Awono uses powerful imagery. The anvil and the hammer are concrete images from the forge. The blacksmith shapes metal on an anvil using a hammer. The process is violent and painful. The image represents the colonial experience. African cultures were heated and hammered into new shapes. The dream and rainbow are images of the past. The past is gone, like a dream that fades or a rainbow that vanishes. The new star is an image of the future. It rises and beckons, but it is distant and unclear. These images create a vivid picture of the speaker's dilemma. Metaphor. The anvil and the hammer are a metaphor for the forces of change. Colonialism and modernity are the hammer. African tradition is the anvil. The speaker is caught between them. He is the metal being shaped. The forge is a metaphor for the colonial situation. The new man being forged is a metaphor for the new African identity. Personification. The heart of the man is torn. A heart cannot actually be torn. The personification gives emotion to the pain. The speaker's feelings are torn. He feels pulled in two directions. The new star beckons. A star cannot beckon. The personification gives the future a sense of promise and invitation. Repetition. The phrase, caught between the anvil and the hammer, is repeated. This repetition emphasizes the speaker's dilemma. He is trapped. He cannot escape. The repetition of old songs, old dances, old gods, and new songs, new preachings, new gods, contrast the past and the present. The repetition creates a rhythm. It also creates a sense of being overwhelmed. Tone. The tone of the poem is painful and conflicted. The speaker feels torn. He cannot go back. He cannot go forward. He is trapped in the middle. The tone is created by the imagery, the repetition, and the word choice. Words like torn, groans, and caught convey pain. Theme. The theme of the poem is the pain of cultural dislocation. Africans who experienced colonialism were caught between two worlds. They could not return to the old ways. They could not fully embrace the new ways. They are caught between the anvil and the hammer. Now let me analyze poetic devices in The Song of the Women of My Land by Omar Farouk Sesay. This poem is about the resilience of women in war. Let me identify the devices. Imagery. Sesay uses powerful imagery. The dirge is a funeral song. The women's song is a dirge. It is sung from the depths of wounded wombs. This image connects the suffering of women to their fertility. War wounds the wombs of women. It prevents them from bearing life. The empty calabashes are images of hunger. Calabashes are used to serve food. Empty calabashes mean no food. The cutting edge of hunger is a sharp image. Hunger cuts like a knife. The symphony of sorrow is an image of music. War is the conductor. It orchestrates their pain. The night is darkest before dawn. When the night is darkest, they sing. Their singing cracks the sky. The sun peeps through. The seeds stir in the earth. These are images of hope and new life. Metaphor. The song is a metaphor for the women's experience. Their song is not literal music. It is their collective voice. It expresses their suffering and their hope. The wounded wombs are a metaphor for the damage war does to women. The baton of war is a metaphor. A baton is used by a conductor to lead an orchestra. War leads the symphony of sorrow. The darkness is a metaphor for despair. The sun is a metaphor for hope. The seeds are a metaphor for future generations. Personification. The sun peeps through. The sun does not have eyes. It cannot peep. The personification gives the sun a sense of shyness or gentleness. The seeds stir. Seeds do not have bodies. They cannot stir. The personification gives the seeds life and agency. They are waking up. They are ready to grow. Repetition. The phrase, "the song of the women of my land," is repeated at the beginning of each stanza. This repetition emphasizes the central subject. It also creates a musical quality, like a song. The repetition of "it is" in the first stanza lists the sufferings. The repetition of "a" in the third stanza lists the hopes. The repetition creates rhythm. It also creates a sense of accumulation. The sufferings pile up. The hopes pile up. Symbolism. The song symbolizes the women's voice. The womb symbolizes fertility and life. The calabash symbolizes food and nourishment. The baton symbolizes war's control. The darkness symbolizes despair. The sun symbolizes hope. The seeds symbolize future generations. The symbols add depth to the poem. Ordinary things take on larger meaning. Tone. The tone shifts. In the first two stanzas, the tone is sad and grieving. The women are suffering. In the third stanza, the tone shifts to hopeful and defiant. The women are not defeated. They will survive. The shift in tone reflects the resilience of the women. Theme. The theme of the poem is the resilience of women in war. Women suffer terribly in war. They lose sons, fathers, husbands. They are raped. They are hungry. But they do not give up. They sing. Their singing brings hope. Their singing brings new life. Women are the ones who keep society alive even in the darkest times. Now let me analyze poetic devices in The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. This poem is about the significance of life choices. Let me identify the devices. Imagery. Frost uses imagery of a yellow wood. The yellow wood is an image of autumn. The season is changing. The roads are images of choices. A road is a path. A path leads somewhere. The choice of road determines where you go. The undergrowth is an image of the unknown. The speaker cannot see far down the path. It bends into the undergrowth. The leaves are images of untouched paths. No step had trodden them black. The paths are fresh. The sigh is an image of regret or reflection. Metaphor. The roads are a metaphor for life choices. Every person faces choices. The choice you make leads to different outcomes. The poem is a metaphor for decision-making. The road less traveled by is a metaphor for the unconventional choice. The speaker says he took the road less traveled by. But earlier he said both roads were worn about the same. The speaker is not entirely truthful. He is creating a story to tell later. Personification. The road wanted where? A road cannot want. The personification gives the road a quality. It seemed to invite the traveler. The road was grassy and wanted where? It seemed to say, "Choose me." Paradox. The speaker says he took the road less traveled by, but he also says that both roads were worn about the same. This is a paradox. It seems contradictory, but it reveals that the speaker is not being entirely truthful. He is shaping his story. The paradox adds complexity to the poem. Tone. The tone is reflective and slightly wistful. The speaker looks back on his choice. He knows that one choice made all the difference. But he cannot know what would have happened if he had chosen differently. The sigh is ambiguous. Is it a sigh of regret or a sigh of reflection? The tone is open to interpretation. Theme. The theme of the poem is the significance of life choices. Life is full of choices. Once you choose a path, you cannot go back. The choice you make shapes your life. The poem also suggests that we tell stories about our choices. We may exaggerate. We may say we took the harder path. But the truth may be different. Now let me analyze poetic devices in Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. This poem is about resistance to death. Let me identify the devices. Imagery. Thomas uses powerful imagery. The good night is an image of death. Death is like a night. It is dark and final. The close of day is an image of the end of life. Life is like a day. Death is sunset. The dying of the light is another image of death. Light is life. Darkness is death. The green bay is an image of life and possibility. Frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. The bay is a place of beauty. The sun in flight is an image of a full life. Wild men caught and sang the sun. They lived intensely. The meteors are images of sudden bright light. Even blind eyes could blaze like meteors. Even the dying can have moments of brilliance. Metaphor. The good night is a metaphor for death. The dying of the light is also a metaphor. The green bay is a metaphor for life. The sun in flight is a metaphor for a full, active life. The meteors are a metaphor for moments of brilliance. Apostrophe. The speaker addresses his father directly. And you, my father, there on the sad height curse. Bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. The father cannot respond. He is dying. The speaker speaks to him as if he can hear. The apostrophe creates emotional intensity. Repetition. The refrain, "Do not go gentle into that good night," is repeated at the end of the first, second, fourth, and sixth stanzas. The refrain, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light," is repeated at the end of the third, fifth, and sixth stanzas. The repetition is like a chant. It insists that death must be fought. The repetition of rage twice in a row adds urgency, rhyme and meter. The poem is a villanelle. It has a strict rhyme scheme. ABA, 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 ABA. The meter is iambic pentameter. The strict form contrasts with the wild emotion. The form creates a sense of control. The emotion threatens to break free. The contrast is effective. Tone. The tone is urgent, passionate, and defiant. The speaker will not accept death quietly. He demands that his father fight. The tone is created by the repetition, the exclamations, and the imperative verbs do not go, rage. Theme. The theme is resistance to death. Death is inevitable, but we should not accept it passively. We should fight. We should rage. Even when we know we will lose, we should fight. The poem is also about the relationship between parent and child. The child wants the parent to stay. The child cannot bear to let go. Now let me explain how to answer exam questions on poetic devices. A common exam question asks you to identify and discuss the use of imagery in a poem. Here is a sample answer. In the Song of the Women of My Land, Sassay uses vivid imagery to convey suffering and hope. The wounded wombs image connects war's violence to women's fertility. War damages women's ability to bear life. The empty calabashes image conveys hunger. The cutting edge of hunger makes hunger feel sharp and painful. The Symphony of Sorrow image makes suffering musical and organized. War is the conductor. In contrast, the images of hope include the sun peeping through and the seeds stirring. These images suggest that new life will come. The imagery makes the poem vivid and emotionally powerful. Another exam question asks you to explain the effect of repetition in a poem. Here is your answer. In Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, Thomas uses repetition to create urgency and emphasis. The refrain, "Do not go gentle into that good night," is repeated 4 times. The refrain, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light," is repeated 3 times. The repetition is like a chant. It insists that death must be fought. It will not let the reader rest. The repetition of rage, twice in a row, adds to the urgency. The repetition also creates a musical quality. The poem can be read aloud with power. The repetition reinforces the theme of resistance. Another exam question asks you to analyze the use of metaphor in a poem. Here is your answer. In The Anvil and the Hammer, Awuna uses metaphor to convey the pain of cultural dislocation. The anvil and the hammer are metaphors for the forces of change. Colonialism and modernity are the hammer. African tradition is the anvil. The speaker is the metal being shaped. The forge is a metaphor for the colonial situation. The new man being forged is a metaphor for the new African identity. These metaphors are powerful because they are concrete. The reader can see the anvil and the hammer. The reader can feel the force of the blows. The metaphors make an abstract experience vivid and physical. Here is what you need to take away. Poetic devices are tools poets use to create meaning and effect. Major devices include imagery, metaphor, personification, repetition, symbolism, rhyme, meter, tone, apostrophe, paradox, and others. Understanding poetic devices is essential for analyzing poetry. Practice these concepts. Review all topics. Practice past questions. You are ready for your exam. Good luck.